Hello everyone, my name is Hanfei from Hanfei University in Korea and my advisor is Professor Simon Song. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about investigation of flow behavior in a refrigerator freezer using magnetic resonance velocimetry. First, let's see the background of our research. Recently, customers have shown great interest in energy efficiency and noise levels when buying premium refrigerators, leading to a growing number of studies focusing on how to increase energy efficiency and reduce noise. Previously, research was actively conducted on the refrigerator machine room, but recently attention has shifted to the freezer. And to achieve this, it's important to understand the flow characteristics around the evaporator and throughout the freezer's circulation pathways. However, most of the previous studies were conducted based on 2D models, and the 3D model-based benchmark data were insufficient. Therefore, in this study, we employ MRV to analyze the flow characteristics in the freezer, aiming to improve energy efficiency and reduce noise. So first, I will give you a brief introduction to MRV. MRV is a flow visualization technique that uses a conventional MRI scanner. It measures in a 3D region and is a non-invasive technology that doesn't require tracing particles. And because MRV uses magnetic field signals for measurement, it's suitable for complex and opaque flow environments. And MRV can measure a wide range of characteristics, including velocity, TKE, temperature, concentration, and Reynolds stress tensor. And it was primarily used in the medical field, particularly in applications like the flow inside the heart and the arteries. Currently, it is also widely used in various engineering flow fields, such as the flow inside the refrigerator machine room. Therefore, the objective of this research is to visualize the mean velocity and TKE in a refrigerator freezer by MRV and provide 3D experimental benchmark data for improving the design of the freezers. First, we aim to measure and analyze the characteristics of the 3D3C mean velocity and TKE of a flow in a 3D printed model of a refrigerator freezer. And we wanted to propose an improved model with higher flow rate and more uniform flow distribution through the evaporator and a lower TKE. And to ensure broader applicability of our research, we selected the freezer model from LG Electronics for this study. And here is the 0.6 scale MRV model of the freezer. We can observe that the flow enters the cooling system at the same angle as in the actual freezer, and flows downwards through the compartment and exits through the outlet at the bottom. And the flow conditioner is installed at the inlet to enhance flow uniformity and minimize secondary flows. And the right figure details the primary structure of the cooling system, showing the evaporator, fan, twin inlets, and 5 outlets, with arrows indicating the flow direction. And in the MRV experiments, it's challenging to drive the fan because MRI scanners are based on superconducting magnets, so we used a stationary fan setup. And instead, a pump was employed to induce flow in the system. And since water is the working fluid in MRV experiments, a dynamic similarity approach was used to replicate the air flow characteristics within freezer model. Therefore, the MRV experiments were conducted at a flow rate of 19.7 rpm with a water temperature of 20 degrees. And next, I will briefly explain our experimental setup. The MRV experiments were conducted using 3D human MRI at Korea Basic Science Institute Wuchang campus. As you can see in this figure, we have a closed loop circuit including a pump, an electromagnetic flow meter, a radar, flow control, and data acquisition instruments. And to maintain the working fluid at a steady temperature of 20 degrees, we use a refrigerated and heating circulator and a thermocouple. And the Cooper sulfate aqueous solution is used to enhance signal-to-noise ratio and reduce noise. Next, I would like to explain the LG mass-produced reference model and the improved model proposed through our research. The first change is reshaping the central structure within the fan chamber into a streamlined and symmetrical form. And next, the inlet geometry was modified by moving the vertical guide wing from the center of the inlet and introduced the fifth-order polynomial-shaped guide wing. And finally, a fillet was added at the inlet edge. The reason for structure modification will be explained in the research results. From now on, I will talk about the results of the flow visualization. Firstly, I will show you the result of 3D streamlines of reference model. As you can see, these streamlines trace the flow path as it enters through the two inlets at the bottom of the cooling system, passes through the evaporator chamber, and flows over the centrifugal fan. And the flow then continues into the fan chamber and exits through 5 outlets. And the MRV measurements enable the calculation of flow rate ratios for each inlet and outlet. We can observe that the flow enters through the inlet 1 and 2 almost equally, and approximately 60% of the outlet flow is discharged through the upper outlets 1 and 2, while lower discharge rates are observed at the central and lower outlets, potentially causing temperature inconsistency across the freezer compartment. And next is the TKE isosurface result of reference model. As you can see, TKE isosurface were observed on both sides of the evaporator due to the strong flow entering from both inlets, moving along both sides of the evaporator. And the region surrounding the fan shows the highest TKE value resulting from the turbulent wake generated by the fan blades. And in contrast, the central region of the evaporator and the small streamlined region at the bottom of the fan chamber don't show any TKE isosurface. And next, I will discuss the changes in flow characteristics resulting from our structural modifications. Let's start by looking at the effect of the central structure changes in the fan chamber. As you can see, the flow separation areas on both sides of the central structure was reduced by 48%. The reduced size of the modified central structure lowered resistance, directing more flow toward the central and lower outlets while reducing flow to the upper outlets. Such flow distribution improvements are expected to enhance temperature consistency within the freezer compartment. In the fan chamber, the secondary flow energy parameter is introduced to quantify the energy carried by secondary flows relative to the energy in the main flow direction Uy. A higher value of this parameter indicates a greater presence of secondary flow. This figure shows the result of the secondary flow energy parameter and the velocity contours of four characteristics planes in the fan chamber for both the reference and the improved models. The structural modifications to the central structure resulted in lower E values across all four characteristic planes. This indicates that the improved model has a more streamlined and efficient flow pattern in the fan chamber, employing enhanced energy efficiency. And next, I will discuss the effect of the fifth-order polynomial-shaped guide wing at inlet. As you can see, the velocity result at the y equal 44 millimeter cross-section Flow that previously moved directly downward from the inlet in the reference model has now been redirected towards the central fan area due to the application of the polynomial guide. And from the streamlined results below, we can observe that the flow, which previously moved towards the fanless side of the evaporator in the reference model, is now effectively concentrated in the fan area of the improved model. Next is the effect of the fillet at inlet edge. As you can see, the velocity and TKE result at the x equals 70 millimeter cross section. The issue of flow concentration on the left side of the evaporator in the reference model has been elevated in the improved model. And this modification is especially effective near the sharp corner. And here are the TKE isosurface results. Compared to the reference model, the TKE distribution of the improved model shows a clear reduction in the fanless area on both sides of the evaporator and the area around the fan. The right figure provides a quantitative comparison of the number of voltaires in specified TKE regions for both the reference and the improved model using a logarithmic scale. As you can see, the improved model consistently has fewer voltaires across all TKE regions compared to the reference model, and the higher TKE values correspond to a greater reduction ratio in the improved model, indicating its effectiveness in reducing regions of high-intensity turbulence. And next is the flow characteristics analysis in the evaporator region. The orange box indicates the fan area where the heat exchange fans of the evaporator are located. The figure below shows the flow profiles on 3 representative planes in the reference model and the improved model. In the reference model, the fanless area on both sides of the evaporators shows significantly higher flow velocities, negatively impacting heat exchange performance. In contrast, the improved model shows lower flow velocities in the fanless area, with most of the flow concentrated in the fan area. And given the importance of maintaining a high flow rate through the fan area for efficient heat exchange, the ratio of effective flow rate was defined for a more detailed analysis. This ratio is calculated as the flow rate through the fan area divided by the total incoming flow rate. And the flow uniformity index was used to quantify the flow uniformity within the fan area of the evaporator. And from the results of the ratio of effective flow rate, the reference model showed an average of 77%, whereas the improved model showed an average of 92%, indicating an improvement of 15%. Additionally, the flow uniformity index results also showed a significant improvement in the front section of the fan area of the evaporator. These improvements suggest significant potential for improving energy efficiency. And next is the relationship between the rotation speed of the centrifugal fan in real freezer and the associated noise and flow rate. During operation, as provided by AJWTF, the red line represents noise levels, while black line indicates flow rate. And under the rated output condition of the reference model, the centrifugal fan operates at 1,204 RPM, generating a total flow rate of 57.6 RPM and noise of 28.1 decibels. However, due to the 15 percentage points higher flow rate in the improved model, a total flow rate of only 485 RPM is required to achieve the same flow rate through the fan area of the evaporator. And so this reduced flow rate results in a fan speed of only 1027 RPM and a noise level of 24.6 decibels. These findings suggest that the improved model can maintain the same cooling efficiency as the reference model while achieving enhanced energy efficiency and quieter operation. In this study, we proposed an innovative technology MRV that can measure and improve the internal flow with an opaque and complex geometries such as refrigerator freezers. And in the improved model, we proposed the main flow rate through the heat exchanger increased by 15 percentage points, leading to a higher thermal efficiency, and the region of a high TKE value reduced by more than 30%, probably leading to a reduced turbulence-induced noise.